Now, yeah, well, I was thinking about the whole war on Syria, the whole Syrian Arab migration to Europe thing, and trying to work out what's going on. And I think the way of understanding the immigration problem in Europe at the moment is the CIA's determination to solve its problems by shifting refugees to Europe. Now, there's actually a long history of this thing where it seems that the CIA, whenever they set up a revolution or a coup or or whatever in Nicaragua, Iran is a failed one, and there's quite a lot of failed coups in since the 1950s, and failed wars like the Vietnam War, and it seems to me that what the CIA has been doing, at least since its inception, it has been setting up a deal with their allies in country, be that Contras in Nicaragua or death squads in Chile or for Iran. The thing is, these people, the locals, look at what's going on and say this is a setup. Some American corporation wants some short-term profits from the mines, whatever it is, the oil, the minerals, the opium. Some American corporation wants a short-term quick buck, and they don't want sovereign risk, so they get the CIA to stage a coup. Now, the people who stage the coup have a list of demands, because they're acutely aware that the whole thing might fall apart, and they will lose, and they'll end up, up against the wall, facing a firing squad. So typically, so what the CIA, it basically promises people like, take the anti-Castro loyalists who fled after Castro took over Cuba. They fled in great big numbers to Florida, and anti-Castro Hispanics in Florida is one great big political divide to this day. Later on you hear tell about how there was an asylum, and there was an asylum in Florida started taking all these Cuban refugees, and so Fidel Castro took the opportunity to empty out all the prisons and mental asylums and send all these people to Florida and wash his hands of them. But this is a good example of a failed CIA thing, and they were forced to basically park all their allies in the continental US or elsewhere, or promise them asylum elsewhere. Need one look further? Look at Vietnam. During the 60s there was a South Vietnam and a North Vietnam, and there was Laos, and the CIA, the Green Berets, they had this military alliance with the Montagnards, or the Hmong people in Laos, and they were growing a great deal of opium. So the Hmong became their their instrument in the management of the opium trade and fighting off the Viet Cong. But when, and along with all the US loyalists in Vietnam, now after the collapse of South Vietnam, great numbers of Vietnamese and Laotians ended up in the U.S. A lot of them ended up in California. Lots of them, many Vietnamese people after the Vietnamese War ended up in Australia, in Sydney and Melbourne, and which is an interesting story on itself. I mean, these guys, you can see these guys on Anzac Day marching with all the other troops. And yeah, and since, I mean, at least since 2000, basically the collapse of British influence in Hong Kong, as well as other places. I mean, many Hong Kong Chinese have ended up in Canada and Australia, and the US certainly, and London. There's been a lot of Chinese immigration to like Australia certainly, and this system of having some allies in country. I mean, look at Syria. I mean, Syria, government policy was down on Assad. The government policy was to get rid of Assad. So they chose Assad's uncle to back Assad's uncle, who was vying for power, and all his associated tribes, with all their names like Al-Nusra or Al-Nusra, all these characters in Syria who were allied with Assad's uncle. They were promised deals. Most of them, great numbers of them, ended up in Turkey. There was a sweetheart deal between the US and Turkey to take care of these people. And they finally decided to solve the problem by getting Turkey to just open the tap and let them go through to Europe and let the Europeans deal with it. Now, there obviously has been some backroom talk going on. I mean, obviously the European governments have been told straight that they are going to welcome these refugees. They are going to they're going to offer them asylum, pensions, housing, the whole shebang. And from one point of view, you can sympathise with Angela Merkel because she in a way she had no choice about it. And she and a lot of European governments have their hands tied on the subject. But the CIA has basically offered their ex-allies from Syria and elsewhere, they've offered them, open-ended R&R in Germany. They've said, okay, we can't promise you to take you into the continental US. We'll give you something better. We'll just as good. We'll set you up in Germany or Sweden because they're rich, lots of money. They, lots of wind power. They've got no problem. They've got lots of huge budget surpluses. I mean, this was a few years ago. big budget surpluses. Yeah. So we'll just get these soldiers and we'll give them R&R in Germany, and there'll be beer and German blonde babes and, you know, sweet life, and we'll just work out what to do after that. And so a lot of the whole Muslim versus Christian, black versus white, all the banter and all the race baiting and all that sort of stuff is just background to what's going on in government policy. I mean, Prince Charles gave a recent speech where he basically recommended tolerance and understanding, but his hand seems to be tied, just like any German politicians. So yeah, I mean, Syrians are Muslims, Syrians are whatever, Druze, you name it. They these allies have been basically parked in Europe as part of the deal. If you fight for us, half of you will get killed maybe, but if we win, you'll control Syria. If you lose, we'll evacuate you to the world, which, you know. So now the thing is, this has been going on for at least since the 1950s, and a lot of the things, and none of these things have been told to the public. I mean, the Australians weren't told about what was going on with Vietnam, or Asian immigration to Australia. They weren't told. Canadians and Americans haven't been told about all the Chinese immigration to America, or they haven't been told why. Because of course they won't tell them why, because it's grubby. It's a grubby deal, backroom deal, that ordinary voters in Australia, Europe, they weren't party to this. And this is why, you know, a lot of the Europeans are complaining now, is they weren't any kind of party to the discussions. It was just jammed down their throats, as usual. But yeah, so now you've got, you know, all these millions of people in Germany and Sweden and around the place. But this is the duplicity of the CIA, is they tell their allies, you know, no problem, go to Germany, meet the babes, drink the beer, do what you like. I mean, the cops, if you know, get rough with some chicks, you know, it's okay. We won't say anything. And they've just got this sweetheart deal going on, and it's duplicitous because the Europeans may not take it. They may not wear it. They probably won't. Now, I mean, you know, the CIA and the Rockefeller interests think they can just, you know, browbeat the Germans with, you know, Nazi guilt into just accepting anything, or, you know, the Swedes, you know, white guilt, or the absurd white guilt they're peddling in Finland or anywhere. I mean, you've even got, you know, black politicians just accusing Sweden of having undischarged guilt from slavery. I mean, Sweden, of all countries. Jesse Jackson was going on about it. Well, so that's the thing with a lot of these deals that the CIA makes. I mean, they're going to park all these Syrians, Muslims, just anywhere in Europe, and tell them it's okay, you know, do what you like, and we'll just won't say anything. But it's left up to the ordinary person to, you know, the ordinary person has no protection from the police or the government, because the government's a bunch of worthless politicians who will, you know, they'd sell their children for a six-pack of beer. They're worthless people, and they just let these people into Europe or whatever and go, well, there might be problems. We won't talk about that. So you get a reaction to this immigration from a lot of angry, confused Europeans, say. They haven't been told what the Syrians have been told. That they can basically, you know, it's a party town, you know, get rough with the chicks, you know, take it easy, we won't say anything. Now, the Syrian, a lot of the immigrants, recent immigrants, might discover that, you know, instead of having what they think they're going to get, they're going to get, you know, a pistol in their face, because that's the problem. Because if you don't make people party to the discussion, all they're going to know is they're getting shafted and raped and beaten up and getting done over, and they don't know why. And, you know, if there had been party to the discussion, I doubt whether they would have agreed to it anyway. But, yeah, plus ça change.